Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I already filmed an intro for this video, but when I looked over the footage, I realized I looked like I would rather be anywhere but in front of a camera, so a little speed run through the intro of this video. In this vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 different books that have been getting mixed reviews, to put it lightly. Those books being Reprieve by James Hahn Matson. And as I'm filming this, I have already read 2 of the 3 books, so I'm going to try and revert back to my knowledge of said book before I picked it up. Reprieve is a literary horror novel following a multi-perspective cast as they experience a very controversial full-contact haunted house. This book is beefy, it's 400 pages long. You will hear me reference this constantly in the video because I'll tell you now in case the intro is the only time I did tell you, I don't read long books. I'm afraid of them. Reprieve's average rating on Goodreads is currently about a 3.46. Not ideal. And in this vlog, I endeavor to find out what is the cause of such a low rating. Similarly controversial is Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Valente. This is a teeny tiny novella about a woman and her husband living in an idyllic community, and I can't say anything other than that because everything else would be a spoiler. The lighting is not good. Do I need to be this close to the camera for the lighting to be good? Hi, here's where the lighting's good. This is becoming very intimate, kind of like this book cover. This is currently boasting an average rating of 3.67, which admittedly is the best out of the bunch, and honestly not like an absolutely abysmal average rating, but it still brings up some cause for concern. And once again in this vlog, I endeavor to find out the reason why this lovely book has garnered so much negative press. Our third book is one that has significantly less buzz. In fact, it is not the book I was going to read for this vlog. I was going to read Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw, but I have been in the number 3 spot on the hold list for about a millennium at this point. Whoever currently has that copy, release it back into the wild, please, for the love. Like, they're holding it on so tight. I'm sure when I actually get it, there'll be finger indentations in the pages. They don't want to let that go. So I had to kind of adjust my plans, and I realized that a book that my little brother got me for Christmas, thank you Simon, The Violent Season by Sarah Walters, currently has an average rating of 3.58, also not ideal. This novel is either YA thriller or YA horror, and I'm not totally sure which one. If it is YA thriller, it's controversial that I'm picking this up at all, because if you happen to see my 2021 stats video, you know YA thrillers rarely work for me, and when I say rarely, I mean pretty much never. But on the flip side, young adult horror actually was my best rated genre of the year against all odds. So once I've actually finished it, because this is the only one that I have not finished while I'm filming this intro, I will be able to definitively say which genre it more accurately falls in. But to give you the synopsis, this is looking at a town called Wolfridge, in which every November people just get super violent, hence the title The Violent Season, and they just start killing each other. We are following a girl named Wyatt as November approaches, and this particular November, Wyatt has been struggling with her feelings towards her best friend Cash for years now, and it's all kind of coming to a head, aided by the fact that there's another boy that potentially has his eye on Wyatt, who Cash absolutely despises and wants to kill. Once again, thank you Simon for sponsoring this particular portion of the video. I already have some theories as to why this book has the low rating that it does, which is not to say that I'm not enjoying it. I'm just saying love triangles that are published in 2021, because I think I failed to mention all of these books are also 2021 releases, and relatively new ones at that. Love triangles have kind of gone out of vogue, and I think that everybody breathed a sigh of relief when they did go out of vogue. I think that we're all a little exhausted. While I personally have never been like a champion for love triangles and have never like endorsed the trope, I'm willing to hear it out. When one of your first interactions with a love triangle was very positive, you tend to have an open mind, and I'm one of those people. Thank you, Suzanne Collins. You did a good job. Just because I am from the future and am fully aware of some of the events that transpire in this vlog, I will let you know. This vlog has kind of fallen apart since I have begun, not in terms of reading, but in terms of life. In this vlog, you will see me get my 3rd COVID shot, and it will absolutely level me. And in doing so, will put me behind on all of my school and hobbies in general, so I will have to scramble to catch up, and we'll go several days without updating the vlog whatsoever. So with that in mind, temper your expectations and get ready to hear about 3 controversial books. Although controversial might be a strong word, it just seems like people aren't really liking them. But am I? That is the question. Stay tuned and you'll find out. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead, keep reading this, but transport you to the past where I pick up this. Okay, I have to talk kind of quietly because it's like 1 a.m, but hit the 50-page mark on Reprieve. The reading has nothing to do with it being 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. because my roommates and I decided to catch up on The Bachelor. Clayton was such a bad choice. Can I just say that right now? Like, every single woman is carrying every single conversation, and it's kind of painful. But anyway, back to the book. Already I can see why somebody who picked this up expecting horror would be upset. Because at the point that we're at, we've had like a little bit of insight into what will later happen in the Full Contact haunted house. But beyond that, and those are just tiny little sections so far, I honestly feel like we have started the story like miles away from the actual haunted house, which is an interesting choice because usually when somebody's doing that, like, the idea is that we're establishing characterization, and I don't know if I feel like what we've gotten is super meaningful content. So far it has felt relatively contemporary, which is okay. The thing is, long books are allowed to do stuff like this. If you're going to be 400 pages long, you can just kind of take your time getting to the actual genre content. And in a way, it is kind of nice to go from reading like short books all the time to then reading this book, because I do find that when I'm reading a short book, I constantly am feeling like mild stress because I'm like, we don't have time, and you're like dilly-dallying. But when the book's long, it's not as stressful to read. Anyway, it's like 1 a.m. and I still need to take a shower. Alright, well, it is the second day of this reading vlog, and I need to pat myself on the back. I'm doing such a good job tackling my big book phobia. I've read 100 pages of this already. 100 pages. I am over a quarter of the way through. The writing is enjoyable enough, and like we're moving perspectives enough to where like it's doing good things for my big book phobia, because like I'm engaged enough. I'm not thinking about how much further we've got, and like I'm not stressed about like, why were you allowed to include all of this information? The book is 400 pages already. So like, so far this book is actually really working for me. Like, I'm not blown away, but I'm also having a good time. So I made a fantastic decision. That decision was to get my booster shot right before a shift at work. I haven't really had any problems with any other doses. Like, I wasn't even mildly feeling sick for the first two. I was not having a good time at work today in the slightest. My nose was all runny, my head hurt, I had like full body chills, but it's over now and I'm feeling mildly better, and I've been preparing for this. I've spent like the last several days doing homework that doesn't need to be done right now, but like getting ahead so that I can have a night where I just lay in bed and read. So what's on the docket for tonight? Lots and lots of reading, pajamas, probably some nice soup at some point. Unsure if I will update you like with words tonight, but you know, maybe I'll give you a little aesthetic shot of the comfy cozy that I'm planning on engaging in. I'm just thinking back to that last clip where I had my eyebrows done. I had just finished a shift of work, and I still had the audacity to talk about how the booster was making me feel sick, and how I wasn't going to be able to do anything for the rest of the night. Little did I know. It's been a couple of days now, and I can't stand for more than 5 minutes at a time. So I called out of work today. Luckily, my class got canceled. So, it's now past 1 o'clock, and I'm finally ready to venture out. I have not been able to do anything, unless you count taking a shower at, like, 1 a.m., which I did last night, because I could not fall asleep no matter what. I think I've gotten probably about 4 hours of sleep in the last, like, 48 hours. The vaccine itself has, like, gripped my neck. Like, my neck hurts like you would not believe. And my arms have been too weak to physically hold a book. And even though I really would like to read today, I don't think I'm going to be able to read Reprieve. And the reason for that is that I actually had a fever dream connected to that, although I wasn't really asleep yet. In said fever dream, I was literally just thinking about people going through the house, and like not in like a I'm actually thinking about what they're doing. I had all these transcripts of the people's experiences that had gone through Quigley House, the full contact haunted house in the book, and I had to read through every single transcript. But then every time that there was a word wrong in the transcripts would multiply, and the amount of people would multiply, and I'd have to count all of them over again. And I was literally laying in bed stressing about this for like 2 hours. Like, I could not convince my brain that this like wasn't a real thing that was happening. So like, honestly, I have updates to give on Reprieve. Like, I read like 100 pages on the last time I updated. Like, I have updates to give, but I'm just gonna wait because I don't want to talk about that book because it is just drenched in like fever dream. Bleh. Ugh, don't look at how chapped my lips are. My goals for the day: get out of bed, read. Oh no. A Canvas notification just came through. Canvas is the grading software, or pretty much the everything software that my college uses. It just said assignment created. I think it's from the canceled class today, which makes sense. I get it. It makes sense that we would need to do an assignment if class was canceled, but I don't want to do it. I'm too tired. Anyway, this is all to say that I died, and I'm slowly coming back to life. And I'm going to try and re-enter the realm of, like, human activity. Not society, not ready for that, but, like, just, I'm going to try to do the basic human things. So I have lots and lots of updates to give. I've pretty much had all day to give these updates because it is nighttime, if you can tell by the nighty lighting that we've got going. And also I did pretty much nothing today, so there wasn't anything preventing me, except for two things, I guess. One, every time I stood up or moved really at all, my body would send about 15 different pain signals to various parts of my body to just be like, you made a mistake there. And two, I looked and felt so unbelievably gross. And now I'm aware there are some problems with my appearance here. I have showered, so I am clean. However, that does not fix the result of quite a bit of dehydration and sweating, as well as the under eye bags, which are the sequel to if you give a mouse a cookie, which is if you give an insomniac a fever. Every time I feel my fever brain kicking in, I take another sip of the peach juice that has been keeping me alive the last couple of days. Anyway, to get started with the updates, first let's talk about Reprieve, which currently smells like bananas because my roommate came in and gave me a banana to eat in the morning, and I was too nauseous to eat it all day, so it just sat on the book cover and gave it a lovely aroma. I'm actually over halfway, and you can tell by the fact that I said over halfway there that I don't read long books hardly ever because because I'm technically at like 51%, like that's what Goodreads is telling me. So to call that over halfway is like, it's true, it's a fact, but it's come on, it's not really over halfway. I'm basically just halfway, but I'm giving myself the pat on the back there, especially because I actually read 100 pages Saturday evening, which is when I got the dose. It was in that brief period of time where I was thinking like, oh, maybe this isn't actually that bad. Maybe I'll be okay. I wasn't okay. Anyway, oh, now my voice is going? Hold on. We need to have like some level of function in this body. We can't lose our voice too. Another shot of peach juice. On a page-by-page level, I think I'm having a good time. Or maybe not a good time because it's pretty depressing, but like I am relatively invested in the characters. I'm invested in what's happening, but the problem is that I'm not really seeing where a lot of what's happening in like the bulk of the story intersects with the horror genre. And I'm not saying that it's like I expected more like horror tropes, because that's not really what I expected. I kind of went into this knowing that it wasn't going to have a lot of like horror stuff because it's more literary than actual horror. I knew going in that this book was going to be like a critique of American culture, and it was going to be looking a lot into like racism, and it definitely is. It's doing that quite a lot, but I'm just not seeing the way it is connecting back into Quigley House, which is this full contact haunted house, which is the center of the book. We are now seeing these like flash forwards to this haunted house, and it's every other chapter basically that we're getting these interjections where it is the haunted house. But at this point in the story, it doesn't really feel like they're connected at all. So when I'm in those chapters with the haunted house, I'm just a little bit frustrated because it feels kind of pointless, I'll be real. And it feels especially pointless because we learn what happens in said haunted house in like the very beginning. Like honestly, even in the synopsis, like we know what happens, and because we know that they get to a certain point, all of like the challenges or whatever that they're doing, like we know that they're gonna get through them. We know that they're not gonna really suffer through a whole lot. And I have to say, the like horror that is being presented here, there's not that much happening compared to the horror of some real life full contact haunted houses that do exist and do like absolutely morally reprehensible things to the people that come through. Like the stuff in here is not great, but at the same time I don't think it's that bad. So it just feels a little bit like the reactions around this house are a little bloated, for lack of a better word, and also it's just kind of boring. That's why I've been struggling to read this pretty much all weekend. I do think I am going to try and pick this up tonight a little bit more because I did in fact finish Comfort Me with Apples. Not a surprise, this took me probably about an hour and a half to read. And listen, I don't like that I'm like giving this announcement when I feel and look like this, because me giving out 5 stars to a book, it's kind of momentous because I do it so rarely. So pretend that I look better, pretend that I sound better, pretend that pretty much everything is better when I say that I gave this book 5 stars. 5 stars. This is my first 5-star of the year. This was so good. Like, personally, cannot really find a fault with this book, and I had such a good time. I was hesitant in the beginning of the video to, like, commit to the word controversial. Like, I think I probably said controversial a couple different times in my intro, but then kind of corrected myself and then said like, oh, books that are getting like low averages, because like that's not really the same thing as being controversial, and really that is what I'm doing here. So far, I wouldn't call Reprieve controversial, it's just not getting good reviews. For this one, now that I have read it, I can see the controversy. And I will say, a telltale sign for me when I like have read a 5-star book but don't know that it's 5 stars yet, if I start going through the reviews and read some of the like negative reviews and get like mad, it's probably a 5-star. And yeah, I got a little heated at some of the reviews, I will say that right now. Okay, that's a little bit dramatic. I'm heated enough with this fever as is. But I definitely didn't agree with any of the low ratings. I do have to parrot back what a lot of other booktubers have been saying when I say the words, I can't really say what this book's about or tell you that much about it because it's so short, it'll just spoil everything. And it's true, I can't say that much or else it'll give things away. But what I will say about this book is it's super tiny. It's not going to take up very much time in your life. Like, even if you're a slow reader, I would say 2.5 hours absolute max. The writing in this is gorgeous. It's so pretty. It very much is the type of book that I honestly love, where you are fully just stepping into a world that is so weird and just like slightly off, and you don't have all the details, but you're just kind of like in the world trying to figure it out. This is a great book if you really like unreliable narrators but are a little bit burnt out on kind of like the obvious ones that are like, I know something you don't know, or like, oh, I don't remember, or whatever. Like our main girl here, not like that, but definitely an unreliable narrator, and you can tell pretty much right from the get-go. I also think that Catherine M. Valente is doing a lot of really different things, and she's doing it with a lot of confidence. She's doing it beautifully. I feel like this book has now gotten enough hype to where most libraries will have at least one copy. I'm a little bit biased. My library system's amazing. They have pretty much every book ever. But even if you have to wait a little while, I think it's worth it to get on a hold list for this and just give it a shot. Even if you don't end up like loving the end result in this book, I just think it's a good ride, and it's short. It'll take up like no time. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend this book to just about anyone. And anyway, that's the update. I'm now going to go ahead and probably watch the vlog that Kayla from Books and Lala put out months ago where she read this and did full spoilers. I completely avoided that because I knew I was going to be reading this. And now I can watch it. And I'm very excited because she also gave it 5 stars. So I'm probably going to do that, read some more of Reprieve, but probably not enough to update you on. I've been talking for like a half hour now. I need to move on with my life. Kaladin, for whatever reason, thinks that my weighted blanket is his sworn enemy. It's just a blanket, hun. And of course, when I turn on the camera, he stops. Okay, alright, I'm gonna put the kibosh on this. No more. No more. Nope. I wait until my mask has rubbed off almost all of my makeup to turn on the camera. I have an essay that is due tomorrow that like isn't gonna take that long, but I also don't want to leave it completely for me to do tomorrow. That's less important than the resolution that I've made to finish, you can't see that at all, to finish Reprieve tonight. I am currently on page 289, and I want this out of my life by tonight. I don't want to go into tomorrow with this book. I want to finish it. I'm not loving it right now. I'm just a little bit tired, and I think I can kind of see where it's going, and I'm just at a point where I'm just like, I want it to get there. I want to be done. I've been reading it for just too long, and it just hasn't been blowing my mind. So mission Get Reprieve Out of My Life is going to be underway as soon as I give just like an hour of my time to this paper. And then if I'm able to finish this tonight, I'm going to reward myself. And now that I say this, this is an incredibly pitiful reward, and I'm a little embarrassed, but I'm gonna reward myself with watching The Bachelor with my roommates, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna make popcorn, we're gonna hate on Clayton because heavens, why are there so many girls that want to date that man? I don't understand. But anyway, we're gonna have a good time. It all depends on whether or not I can finish Reprieve tonight on The Bachelor. 2 hours later, we are not going to talk about the essay. We did basically none of it, but we finished Reprieve, and I didn't really like it. I already like got footage of me talking about my thoughts on Reprieve, but I don't feel like I was super eloquent in any of it, so we're gonna now get the classic taking makeup off footage while I talk. I did finish it tonight, and then I watched The Bachelor. It was fine. Pretty much more of the same drama from last episode, which was to be expected, but also like, come on, ladies. Just like, gang up together and send Shanae home. I don't think it's that hard. I'm giving it 3 stars. I think it's a fine book, but I wouldn't say that I loved it. Or honestly even really liked it that much. My reasons for that being as follows. On like personal preference alone, I thought it was too long, but I'm not gonna really spend a whole lot of time on that because once again, that's very personal. I understand that there were some critiques trying to be made, and like some of them I got. I can understand like the critique of like American culture, and I think that that was done fine. I have no like complaints there. However, I don't feel like it ever really touched the horror genre in a meaningful way whatsoever. But it did seem like it was setting out to give like a critique on horror, and I don't feel like it did that in any meaningful way. It just kind of went through the events of the book, and we just ended on like a horror is maybe just bad all around, and like I just don't feel like that's really doing a whole lot, especially when you consider that this was like marketed as being horror, and I think that that was a big oops. I don't think it was meant to be marketed as horror at all. It very clearly is not. But it just makes that mistake so much worse because it's just like the people that are gonna read this book are people that like the horror genre, and then we come to the end of the novel where we've just got all of these people being like, well, now the thought of any horror disgusts me because of what happened, and it's just like we didn't actually look at the genre in a way that was meaningful. We were just focused on this fictional house that honestly, I don't feel like took that much from real life inspiration. I don't know. I didn't feel like that was great. Also, the way that we ended with the characters frustrated me, because I felt like they were like well fleshed out, developed characters throughout. However, for the two that we do see the endings of, it's like, okay, they just completely changed. It's just, it doesn't really show any of that growth. It was just like, okay, we went from this to now we're this, and here's the reason. And like, that's pretty much it. And like, I understand they don't really have a whole lot of time, but part of me is just like, you wrote a 400-page book, and yet the characterization at the end was so rushed. Like, how did that even happen? I'm just not finding a whole lot to be impressed with this book, which that sounds meaner than it is. I'm not furious with this book. I don't think it committed any major misdeeds or anything like that. I just can't really say too many positive things, because I just feel like it kind of missed the mark on pretty much everything that it like promised. So like with Peace and Love, I'm glad I'm not reading it anymore. I can definitely understand the low rating that it has. I'm contributing to it a little bit by giving it a 3-star when it has like a 3.46 and really needs like 4 and 5 stars to help it out at this point. But oh, makeup remover down my sleeves, love it. I personally don't think this book is worth the time and effort. With a fresh face, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Potentially I'll pick up The Violent Season tomorrow, but more likely than not, I'm just gonna spend the day putting all of my focus into that paper that I got very little done on tonight, because instead I watched The Bachelor. Anyway, I'm gonna go to bed. Alright, I'm reading, and I'm just gonna go ahead and place the bet now. Of course, without saying the actual name of the person, because I want this to be a spoiler-free vlog, but I think that it is this person. And if I'm right, I'll know I'm right. And I'm getting video evidence of it now for the moment where I'm right, because I'm pretty sure I am. Okay, so 100 pages and about 32% into The Violent Season, and I should probably tell you what's going on and what I'm feeling about it, because this is in fact a reading blog. So as mentioned in the intro that I filmed, The Violent Season is about a town in which every November people just get a little violent. When I picked it up, I definitely thought it was going to be more of like almost a slasher vibe, but as we have learned, this is more of just like a theory. They've just kind of noticed that every November there tends to be a lot more violence. So the people in the town don't really know if this November sickness, as they're calling it, is even real. It's just kind of like an urban legend. A lot of people are very adamant that it's not real, which I get it, because like if you thought it was real, why in the world would you stay? But basically, Wyatt's mother was a victim to the November sickness, or was a victim in that she was murdered, not that she hurt herself, which that also frequently happens. So it's just Wyatt and her dad, and Wyatt has really depended on Cash, who is a boy her age whose mother is also dead. I honestly already forget how. I think it was suicide. They kind of have that shared trauma bond there, and she has been like in love with him for years, and it's a very unhealthy codependent relationship, which I don't know if I'll include the clip, but the story actually does include a trigger warning in the beginning talking about how it is an unhealthy and abusive relationship. Although it doesn't necessarily say that it's their relationship, I'm just assuming that's the relationship because I'm noticing some red flags there. And at this point in the story, at 100 pages in, Wyatt is starting to form this relationship with Porter, who Cash absolutely hates, and we just found out why Cash allegedly hates him. And I'm feeling conflicted now because there's certainly a lot in this book that I feel like I am A, too old for, and B, I feel like the world was too old for, honestly. Like some of the stuff that's happening in here does feel incredibly dated, but it's like little stuff, so I can't get too upset with it. The best example of this being that the main character has, I believe at the 100 page mark, has described herself as cigarettes and cuss words like 6 times. Like she'll just, her internal dialogue, she's constantly saying like, I am cigarettes and cuss words. And it hurts me so much because honestly, I feel like the writing thus far has actually been quite good. There have been several sentences where I've been like, okay, Miss Sarah Walters, I see what you're doing there. Like, I think it's genuinely pretty well written. And then we get hit with like, I am cigarettes and cuss words, and I'm like, please go back to 2015. Like this is not the energy we are wanting to take into 2022. Like, it just feels so dated, but it also could just be a representation of, like, I'm in my 20s. I am not 16 anymore when, like, this sort of energy is acceptable. I don't really feel like in this point in my life I'm allowed to go around saying that I am cigarettes and cuss words. I mean, for one thing, that just would be incorrect. I am not cigarettes and cuss words. Like, it would be the equivalent of me saying I am chai and a thesaurus. Just so you're aware, my roommate is in the room making breakfast, so if you hear things like the microwave, that's what it is. She feels very bad about it, even though she shouldn't. I'm in a common space. Also, the two boys that she is infatuated with at this point in the story, mixed feelings, because I was feeling kind of annoyed with the level of cliche that I was feeling like was going down with these two children. But in the past, like, 30 pages, I've decided I actually really like one of them. So I'm trying to kind of reconcile all of the negative feelings that I had collected in the first, like, 60 pages with, you know, these new revelations that have been coming up. Because I do think I actually like where some of these relationships are going. Also, I'm trying not to be too judgmental of some of the overusage of, like, kind of older feeling tropes, because what I can kind of sense is that I feel like Sarah Walters is going to end up subverting these tropes, and I think that that's actually a really cool and necessary thing to do. Like, I do really like the idea of exploring this relationship that she has with Cash, and, like, how it's unhealthy, and, like, how it has actively, like, degraded her mental health. But at this point in the story, I'm just kind of hoping that that's where it's going. I'm pretty sure it is. I just have to kind of wade through all of the cigarettes and cuss words to come. So anyway, that's the update on where I'm at with the Violent Season. Would like to finish it tonight. I don't know that that'll happen, but we'll give it a shot. I wasn't planning on updating so soon, but she's changed her tact a little. Now she's barbed wire and razor blades. So, progress. Hi, you are sitting on my desk shelf. I have to leave for work in like 10 minutes, so I'm going to keep this brief. I'm trying not to give this book too much credit too early. And, like, I'm not even, like, feeling like, ooh, like, 5 or 4 star or whatever. Like, I'm still feeling pretty neutral towards it. But, like, okay, a big thing just happened, and, like, I'm not gonna say anything for, like, spoilers, but, like, if this book is what I think it is, I'm honestly really impressed, because where I'm at right now, based on just, like, some of the predictions I have for, like, the mom's murder, and then also just, like, what's happening with Wyatt and the two boys right now, like, as I'm seeing it now, the whole, like, Violent Season and, like, this town culture and everything is really just a metaphor for, like, the female teenage existence, and, like, I'm kind of loving it. I don't want to give this book premature credit. Like, it could absolutely go off the rails. I don't know. I'm here to just say I'm excited. I am really happy with what, I don't know, maybe I'm just in my literary brain a little bit too much right now. Like, I am doing a lot of readings for class at the same time that you're just not seeing, because I don't think it's that interesting for me to tell you about it. Like, I don't think I can write this off as just being a fun YA time. Like, I think Sarah Walters is coming in here with some points to make. I need to go to work. I really don't want to. I think that's why I'm getting so heated about this book, because I would rather do that than get yelled at by angry women whose buttons are 2 cents more than they thought that they would be. I work at a craft store, if you didn't know. Hello, it is the same day. I'm just wearing a sweater because I got cold. I went to work, I came home, did some homework, and I finished the Violent Season. 3 stars. Now, my thoughts on this are a little bit of a passionate jumble, because I was wrong about a lot of where it was going. I, at one point, made, like, a prediction that was completely wrong. I feel so many things here, because, like, I sit and frequently talk about how, like, oh, if I were, like, writing this, or, like, if I had any say in this, da-da-da-da-da, like, I'm frequently on my soapbox spouting off stuff about how, like, I could have made this book better. But, like, I genuinely wish I was in on, like, the ground floor of this book, because there is so much here. Like, I really just kind of want to be like, Sarah Walters, I see you. I see what you're doing. I want to help. Not even trying. I think that, like, some of the larger things that she wanted to have communicated, she got it. But it was by no means a perfect read for me either. It does just feel quite dated in some of, like, the character tropes that it's working off of. The main girl, Wyatt, is incredibly hard to swallow, and I don't want to even say she's like unlikable because I feel like unlikable can at least be fun. But Wyatt was cigarettes and cuss words, and she told us this all the freaking time. Wyatt would frequently take me out of this little town in Vermont and just throw me back into like 2015. I think there's important stuff happening here. It's just getting a little bit lost in the weeds of Wyatt's weeds. That's the problem here. To sum up my feelings, there's a lot of things that this book actually, surprisingly, did really, really well, and I think that there is a lot of merit with this concept. I'm definitely going to try and pick up her next book because I saw that she has another one slated for October of this year. So that's going to be a wrap on the vlog that had pretty much everything wrong with it, but I did read 3 books. Thank you so much for watching. That's how I end videos. I thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon with another video.